Democrats held contests in 3 states yesterday. Senator Bernie Sanders won caucuses in Kansas and Nebraska, and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton won in Louisiana. Secretary Clinton joins us this morning from Detroit. Secretary Clinton, you know what it's like to be in a tough delegate battle. The last time around, you stayed in it all the way to the end. So do you think there's anything wrong if Bernie Sanders stays in this fight all the way to the end?
Well, I think that's up to him, John. I'm just very pleased at where my campaign is right now. I was really gratified by the results yesterday. We'll net delegates, and we're feeling good about the upcoming contests. And I've really put together a great broad coalition that I think is the key to winning in November against whoever the Republicans nominate.
Speaking of winning in November, the Republicans seem to have all of the enthusiasm. The more people are turning out for their primary process, much more than Democrats. Won't that hurt in the battle in November?
Well, I don't know exactly what that means. You know, I've gotten more votes than anybody running on either side. I've gotten more votes than Donald Trump, although I'm sure he doesn't want to hear that. And we've gotten it from a wide, broad base. In fact, I've gotten in the Democratic primary election, I've gotten more white voters, except for the state of Vermont. All told, I've had more support from white voters. So I feel really good about where our campaign is and where it's going.
In places like Ohio and Massachusetts, there are reports of Democrats switching over, changing their registration, becoming Republicans so they can vote for Donald Trump. Aren't those voters you're going to want back, and how do you get them back?
Well, I want to get every voter back. I'm going to keep working during this primary to earn every vote and to make it clear that I'm running an inclusive campaign. I want to knock down barriers for all Americans, not just some of them. And I hope that as we move forward, people will be giving a second and third look to all the candidates, and that includes me, and it includes Mr. Trump. So I'm going to keep reaching out and demonstrating unequivocally that if people are frustrated, discouraged, upset by what's happening in the economy or the government or our political system, that I come ready, prepared to do what's necessary to make progress. And I think that's a very strong case.
Let me ask you a question about something that was in the news this week. Brian Pagliano, the former State Department staffer, was granted immunity from prosecution in the criminal investigation into your email server. And when this happens, I talk to Democrats, and they worry that somebody is going to get indicted.
Well, there is no basis for that. It's a security review. I'm delighted that he has agreed to cooperate, as everyone else has. And I think that we'll be moving toward a resolution of this, because after all...
You see this as good news?
I'm sorry, what, John?
You see this as good news?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. I think we're getting closer and closer to wrapping this up. I also know that there were reports today about the hundreds of officials and the 1,000 emails that they were sending back and forth that have been looked at and classified retroactively. This really raises serious questions about this whole process. I think Colin Powell summed it up well when he was told that some of his emails from more than 10 years ago were going to be retroactively classified. He called it an absurdity. So I'm hoping that, you know, we'll get through this, and then everybody can take a hard look at the interagency disputes and the arguments over retroactive classification. Remember, I'm the one who asked that all my emails be made public. I've been more transparent than anybody I can think of in public life. But it's also true that when something is made public, everybody from across the government gets to weigh in, and that's what's happening here. And we need to get it sorted out and then take action from there.
Let me ask you about the 2-part series this week in the New York Times on Libya. In it, former Secretary of Defense Robert Gates said that President Obama said the decision whether to take action in Libya was a 51-49 decision. Secretary of Gates gave you credit for putting the president on the 51% side of the line. In other words, taking action in Libya. Does that square with your view of the way things happen?
Well, look, it was the president's decision. And I think he listened to everybody, just as he did when we were involved in the intense review of intelligence as to whether or not the president should order action to go after bin Laden. These decisions are obviously, ultimately, the president's. I think we should remember where we were, the kinds of threats and actions that Gaddafi was taking. And I have to say that when I look at this, an absence of action by NATO, by Arab League members, would have probably turned Libya into Syria, which I think would have been an even more dangerous situation. So we all give our best judgment. I respect everybody who I worked with in the Obama administration, and then ultimately we make our recommendations to the president.
Some people say it's not so much that Syria, it may be been like Syria, but it isn't so good right now.
Well, no, it's not good. I'm not saying that it is, but it's sure better than Syria. I think maybe 1,500 people were killed last year compared to probably 150,000 in Syria. But what is happening is a very concerted effort led by the UN, supported by the United States, Europe, and others, to try to create a unity government in Libya, enabling the people of Libya to get what they voted for, John. I keep reminding people of this. They've held 2 elections. They voted for moderates. They voted for democracy. They voted for a path forward that has been disrupted because of the interference of outside forces as well as internal squabbles. But this has only been a few years. I think we've got to really work hard to help the Libyans achieve the goals that they set out for. After all, Gaddafi hollowed out their country. They were left with basically nothing, not a functioning army, not a functioning government, et cetera. So yeah, we've got work to do, but I actually am, slightly hopeful that they will all realize they're going to do better if they work together. They stand against terrorist elements. We will support them. Others will as well.
Okay, Secretary Clinton, we're out of time. Thanks so much.